What's up, sons? It's Blind Rod with Son of a Tech once again. I wanted to make a quick video about the CAS Miner KS3 from Bitmain. Apologies for no face cam today. I'm having some health issues and going down pretty hard as far as that's concerned, but I'll get you guys more details on the Blind Run channel at some point with that as I discover what's going on. Let's talk about the Bitmain CAS Miner KS3 right after a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Coastal Crypto. Coastal Crypto can be found at coastalcryptomining.com via the affiliate link down in the description below. They don't want to take up a lot of your time, and neither do I, because I want to get into the video. They are here to help miners find parts. If you're looking for ASICs or even GPUs or any other parts, be sure to check them out. Use promo code SOAT at checkout for 5% off any purchase on the website. Welcome back. So to get things started off, we are looking at this being launched for pre-sale tomorrow, which will be on May 19th, 2023. Shipments will be in August of 2023. Now, this particular miner is going to do 8,300 gigahash a second at 3,188 watts. Extremely efficient, more efficient than the KS1 or the KS2 from Ice River, which are now more than likely probably something that was real, maybe even pre-test units to this, who knows. And that is going to make it, essentially ASIC ready to go on Kaspa. So let's go ahead and state what we do know at this point, how this affects you as a cryptocurrency miner. As of August, and probably a little bit sooner, you will begin to notice that all of your GPU miners are unprofitable on Kaspa at this point. Moving on from that, the FPGAs will become unprofitable on Kaspa after a certain point too, and most likely all before August or on August. Remember that Bitmain, as we have discussed in the past, will typically do a pre-sale, then mine on those particular units before they ship them out, meaning we can expect some sort of increase in hash rate on the network. There are probably a few test machines that are currently already deployed to the network, but I have not found any on any of the popular mining pools at this time. More than likely due to its efficiency and just amount of hash rate, it's easier to do this on a local node and still test it all out. Who knows exactly how that is getting played out, but suffice to say, I would not invest in FPGAs or GPUs if my intention was to mine Kaspa. And that is going to be pretty much my hard cutoff for Kaspa on purchasing things like the Osprey E300, like any of the multi-miner M2s, all of these types of things. If your intention is to mine Kaspa with them, you probably want to hold off, right? Because we are going to be seeing a massive increase in hash rate on the network. Okay, so if we took a look at mining profitability as it sits today with the current difficulty, the current block reward, and so on, with the hash rate being at this 8 terahash a second and the power at 3188 with a cost of 10 cents a kilowatt hour, we are looking at making about 130,000 Kaspa per day. And after 10 cents a kilowatt hour, that comes out to $2,368 per day in profitability. Now, that will not continue because obviously with a bunch of these being manufactured, lots of different things will take place. First of all, the difficulty on the network will go up. Second to that, the block reward will decrease by August. Some of these things are easier to predict than others. So moving forward in this video, everything is pure speculation. We do know that due to the emission schedule of Kaspa, by August of 2024, we will see a reduction, or of 2023, excuse me, we will see a reduction in the reward to about 185 Kaspa. So I have updated one of the miners with that in particular. Then we have to decide on how many units will be produced. The most recent altcoin that Bitmain participated in was Kadena. So we will be making parallels or drawing parallels to Kadena for the rest of these calculations. So this is where things get a little bit sketchy. The approximate production for Kadena KA3s from Bitmain were about 2,000 units, best I can tell. It's somewhere between initial launch being 700 to 2,000. What I've decided to calculate out here is the worst case scenario for Kaspa on price, and at basically all 2,000 KS3s being on the network. In theory, if there are less, then your difficulty is lower, and then you could actually have the price of Kaspa be a little bit higher than this, maybe about double what it could be. So we are looking for price adjustments here, right? At the time of writing right now, what we have seen is Kadena has gone down on the KA3 to $8.29 a day in profit after 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Okay. So what we want to do is essentially figure out what that profitability would be on Kaspa if we were to see it copy it. So the next thing that we needed to do was calculate out what the difficulty would be if 2,000 Kaspa miners hit the network. And it would be about 16 petahash a second. That would be about obviously around 15 to 16 times on the difficulty. Now, the difficulty is unique in Kaspa, and because of that, it can have a much smoother difficulty adjustment than we see in Kadena, but everything else in Kadena has kind of smoothed out. So I'm going to say that we're predicting this with the smoothing out. That does change the difficulty on the network to essentially this number right here, which we just 16x'd from the current number right here. The other change that we made obviously was the block reward down to 185, which will be in August when these units supposedly begin to ship. And then we went ahead and ran the calculator. And what that ended up coming out to, which is probably if the price of Kaspa stays the same, these miners will do $117.97 a day in profit after 10 cents a kilowatt hour, which is pretty good. That would be pretty awesome. However, if we have price adjustments like we saw on price adjustments of Kadena, then what we could start to extrapolate from here is what the price of Kaspa could go down to after the Bitmain typical strategy, which is this. As we learned from tactical investing, Bitmain will pre-sale the miners, begin to mine on them, and then once they start shipping them out, they will subsequently also start to dump the actual coin onto the market. This is what we saw with Kadena last. So if that does happen on Kaspa, what are we looking at? If we see the profitability of the KS3 drop to the same profitability of what Kadena is at now, how much does price adjustment, or how much is the price adjustment? To do this calculation, we went ahead and ran it through a percent calculator. $8.29 is going to be about 7% of the $117.97 after adjusting for block reward as well as difficulty. So then we would say, what is 7% of essentially the current price, which is 2 cents per Kaspa? And that would put us into basically 14/10 of a cent on the price of Kaspa for the worst case in August of 2023. Now, this is not doom and gloom for Kaspa, because as you guys are aware, this can adjust back out just fine once the ecosystem has adopted all of this, and once all of the adoption is kind of settled out, it can very quickly recover from this. And the real question here will be, what is the actual adoption, right? We're running off of these numbers when we see, of course, the lack of adoption on Kadena or KDA. if the adoption follows with the increase here, then we could see this change completely. Now, in some cases, of course, what we could say is that only 700 units get produced on the network, right? So we could start to say, you know, what is 700 of 2,000, just for a quick number, right? Or I did that backwards. 2,000. There we go. 2,000. That would be 35%. We actually want to reverse this, right? So we want to do 2,000 of 700. Make it easier. 285% of 14 cents of a penny. And what we would really be looking at is 4/10 of a penny if we only see 700 on that initial launch. I can always be inaccurate, and of course I can always be incorrect. So let me know in the comment sections below what adjustments I should make. Once again, we've adjusted for both emission schedule as well as difficulty, and then we've compared, of course, to a coin that is not exactly like Kaspa. Fully aware of that, but I also want to just play this out in our heads so that we start to get an idea of what could be the future for Kaspa in the short term. I do not think that this impacts Kaspa in the long term, as I do think that the emissions are quite stark, and by the time we get to the bull run, we will have dropped to 55 reward on Kaspa, which I think is going to compensate quite nicely. Some of the fears that I do have is a centralization of the hash power. You know, one KS3 is going to outpower any GPU farm on the network and pretty much start to take out all of the GPU farms as well, or FPGA farms, excuse me, as well. And so these are some of the concerns. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like, comment, subscribe down below, and I will see you next Tuesday.